Hey friends, welcome back to Belle's Library. Tonight I am doing the off the top of your head tag. This tag was originally created by Gina at Book Mouse Gina, and then I was tagged by Debs at Rainer Read Stuff. This is a fun tag that just asks questions regarding books and reading and stuff. There are 10 questions on this tag. All right, number one, the question is, what was your favorite picture book as a child? My favorite book, the earliest book that I can remember really having a strong connection with, is this book called We Like Kindergarten. So when I was 4 years old, my mom tells a story that I went to kindergarten registration and I had to be 5 years old apparently to get into kindergarten, but I read them a book and they could see that I could read, and therefore they let me come in at 4 years old. And I started kindergarten earlier than other people my age. In my imagination, the book I read was this. My mom will have to let us know in the comments if this is actually the book that I read to the, evaluator people. But anyway, I love this story. I love this artist, Eloise Wilkin, and this little girl just, I don't know, she didn't really actually look like I did, but she's blonde. And I just love this whole story about Carol and how she was going to kindergarten. She was going to kindergarten every day. She told her little sister goodbye, and Teddy Bear, Rusty, Patches, everybody wanted to go to kindergarten, but only Carol got to go because she was old enough. And at the end of the day, Carol plays school with baby sister and the pets and the toys and everything. I just loved everything about the story. I loved that they slept on mats because we had mats that we rested on. I love that they did figure painting and clay, just like we did. So this is definitely my favorite childhood picture book. And then the next question, number two, is what was your favorite book series as a child? That was definitely hands down The Babysitter's Club. I adored The Babysitter's Club. I was obsessed with them. They were my best friends. I was actually part of The Babysitter's Club in my imagination, and I loved these. I could get them for, this book says $2.95. I think I remember getting them for as low as $1.95 and $2.25. And my Grammy would take us out. I guess we must have been going out on Saturdays. I don't know. But when my Grammy would want to go to town, my great grandma lived near us and she would want to go to town. And so my mom would take her, and in exchange, she would take us out to lunch and she would buy me Babysitter's Club books. And I'm sure she bought my brother a present too, but I have no idea what it was. I paid no attention because all I knew was I was getting my Babysitter's Club book. I got weekly or bi-weekly allowance as a kid, maybe $2, $2.50. I can't remember what I got, but I would save it for Babysitter's Club books very often. I love them. I was so obsessed. The cool thing is that I have 5 daughters, and my 2 youngest daughters are in love with them as well. They are their favorite books, their favorite series. They are reading through them now. They both have over 100 Babysitter's Club books each. So we've been finding the collection for them so that they can grow their own vintage collection of Babysitter's Club books. And so whatever, say we'll find like a big box of them, whatever they don't have, I've been putting in my library. So we have a lot of Babysitter's Club books in this house. My kids are loving them. I've been rereading them and loving them. They are just super classic. All right, number 3 is, what is the worst book you've ever read or tried to read? Hands down, the worst book that I have ever read is The Princess Bride. I know that's horrible because the movie is so fantastic. And I think that's why I hated the book so much. I love the Princess Bride movie, but the book was nothing like it in my mind. In comparison, I don't know, it's been so long since I've read it, I can't even really tell you the details, but that is what always comes up when someone says, what's the worst book you've ever read? Right there, Princess Bride. I know it. I just really didn't enjoy it. Another one that I've read lately was The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I did not enjoy that. I thought that was just a weird, creepy, perverted, strange. I did not enjoy that book at all. Another one, Cold Comfort Farm. I can't remember who that one's by, but I could not get into that one either. Like, when I think about my experience reading Cold Comfort Farm, I almost feel like I was like kind of like unconscious when I think about reading that. Like, I was totally not even with it. I could not get into the story. I didn't know what was going on. It was just, I don't know. So whether these are actually bad books or just bad experiences, I don't know, but that's what comes to mind off the top of my head, and that's what this tag is, right? Okay, number 4, what is your favorite reading or book memory? So I have a few that I have just been kind of kicking around. One, I can remember as a little kid, my mom had us take naps every day, which was great because I still take naps every day. It's part of my routine for 44 years now. But before nap time, we would get a little golden book off the shelf, and we might have even got a stack, I can't remember. But my mom kept a nice library for us kids, and we would go and get some little golden books off of the shelf and sit on the couch all nice with our books in our lap and wait for mom. And then she'd sit with us and read before our nap time and, you know, before bedtime or just whenever. Like, my mom read to us a lot. I remember that when I was really little. And so those memories of getting a little stack of books. And she was so particular about us taking good care of our books. We couldn't throw them on the floor, stomp on them. I don't even really remember being allowed to have them in my bedroom until I was older, just because she wanted us to take good care of them and value the books. And so, yeah, I appreciate that. I remember when we would go fishing as a family. So it was my mom and dad, my brother and I. And we would go fishing or camping on the weekends. And my dad was like, the second he could see straight, he would start fishing until the moment that he could no longer even see to fish, or, you know, it was against the law to be out on the water or whatever after dark. I can't remember, but he was just like very intense fisherman. And so we would leave the house at like 3 or 3:30 sometimes so that my dad could be on the water at sunup and just fish until we were dragging and not get home until super late at night. I can remember just like getting in the tub at like 11 and I'm falling asleep and I'm filthy. And anyway, that has nothing to do with reading. Okay, so what I was going to say is on those trips, my brother and I knew we better get a stack of books because we are going to be gone a long time. We didn't like to fish. My dad didn't like to have us fish very often because we would always get our line all tangled up, and so he'd have to stop what he's doing and help us, and he didn't like to do that. He wanted to be like in the zone, and so we would have to occupy ourselves for a really stinking long time. And so I can remember us just being like, okay, we're gonna bring like 6 paperbacks, right? So I bring like my Babysitter's Club collection or whatever, because we knew that we would be reading a long time. And then the other thing I was thinking when I was thinking off the top of my head is I have a note I was going to get out and I forgot to get it, but it's in my scrapbook that my mom made for me. And it's a note that I wrote to my dad asking him if I could have some money to go to the book fair at school. So my dad would work late and he'd get home after my bedtime and I'd leave him a note on the table. And so this particular note said, could I please have some money for the book fair? And I think I even told him what book I wanted to get at the school book fair. And so I don't remember what it was or how much it was or anything, but I am pretty positive that there was some money there on the table for me that next morning. My parents made a lot of sacrifices for us so that we could have, you know, the things that were important to us, and reading, books, education, that was really important to them. So anyway, those are some of my memories that I just kind of thought about off the top of my head as I was thinking about that question. Okay, number 5, a book you loved as a movie. So there are several that I can think of, but I really don't watch a ton of movies. I read a lot more books, and sometimes I'll watch like, you know, something streaming on Amazon Prime or whatever with my husband, but it's mostly TV. But and so I just kind of have to fall back on the Pride and Prejudice variations. I love the 1995 variation that has Colin Firth and Jennifer Ely. And I love the 2005 one with Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden. I adore Matthew McFadden. I would watch him in anything he's in. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not everything, but I really like him a lot. So yeah, so I kind of feel like those are cop-outs, but they're good movies, so. All right, number 6, a book you wish they would make into a movie. So I've talked about Kate Morton before. I really like kind of her modern Gothic style. I like the stories that she puts together. I think that there would be a good base for a movie in some of her books. So Kate Morton books, yeah. All right, number 7, a book character that you would like as a friend. So this one, it took me a little bit to think about this one. It was hard to get it off the top of my head. But I settled on Hester Prynne from The Scarlet Letter. The thing I really love about Hester is she stood on her principles. She knew who she was, regardless of the persecution around her. She just was like, all right, I did this thing. It was a bad idea. Shouldn't have done this. It wasn't the best decision, but I own it. I'm not going to destroy my life over it. I'm going to accept it, accept the, consequences, which in her case, what was going on was she had committed adultery, and in her community, she had to wear a scarlet letter A on her bodice of her clothing to call her out as an adulteress. She lived in a small town. Everybody knew. I don't even know why she had to wear that all the time, but, anyway, they were just being jerks. But she accepted it, and she moved on with life. Like, she grew, and she raised her daughter, and she didn't let the shame of what she had done consume her, right? And while it was that, on the flip side, the guy that she committed adultery with, it consumed him and it destroyed him because he wouldn't face it. He wouldn't bring it out into the light and be like, this is dumb, shouldn't have done that, moving on now. And so that's what I really appreciate about Hester. She's the kind of person that I think that I would want to hang out with because she's not dramatic and she is honest. And I feel like she's deep, right? I feel like, there can be some really great conversations between me and Hester Prynne. All right, number 8, what is a place that you would like to visit because of a book that you read? So that for me is Walden Pond, or just in general, the Concord area. So that's Henry David Thoreau wrote Walden. He wrote about his experience at Walden Pond. And from what I understand, that land was owned by, was it owned by Nathaniel Hawthorne? Maybe not. Emerson? Maybe it was owned by Emerson. Anyway, it was owned by one of those guys that lived up there in the Concord area. And so when you go there, you've got Thoreau, Emerson, Hawthorne, you've got Louisa May Alcott. There's quite a few of those 19th century writers that all were in that area and kind of buddies with each other. And I think that I would really enjoy going there to Walden Pond and just kind of having a little tour of the area. In fact, I've really thought about it a lot over the years because my oldest daughter, is really into the Revolutionary War history. And so she would want to be there for the Lexington and Concord, Revolutionary War ties, where I would want to be there for all of the literary giants of the 19th century ties. You guys hear that woodpecker? I love my back porch and my forest behind me. I live in a town of about close to 35,000 people, but I live on a very forested hill, and so it's like I live out in the middle of nowhere. But the traffic that you can hear behind me kind of gives it away. But it's beautiful out here. It's right now, I don't see anything but trees, so I love it. All right, back to the tag here. So number 9, a nonfiction book that you would recommend. All right, so I love reading nonfiction. I got tons of recommendations, but here is one that I really enjoyed. This is Mudlark by Laura Micklem. She is a mudlarker on the Thames in London, and she has an Instagram. That's probably where I first discovered her. She's always putting up her different finds on Instagram. The UK version of this book, I think, actually has photos in it. This one is a version that my husband got me as a gift at one point, sometime in the last couple of years. And I loved reading this. Now, I've read a couple of mudlarking books, but this one is just really well done. I really like her as an author. She just has a great voice, and it's very interesting to learn about the history of mudlarking on the Thames, but also what is going on now, and you know, the kind of requirements that you have to meet in order to be a mudlarker. You can't just like go down there and grab stuff all the time. So there's certain things you got to do. And when I was there in London last week, I was in the area of the Thames in the afternoon, and it was very high. And so I was trying to figure out like where people would do the mudlarking, right? Because there was no like sandy mudlarky places. So from what I understand, the tide comes in and out on the Thames. So I was there when the tide was in, obviously. And so anyway, it would have been fun to see people mudlarking at the time, but didn't happen. Anyway, if you're interested in that at all, that's a really fun archaeology kind of book, really, to check out. All right, and then number 10, if you could hang out with an author all day, who would you pick and why? So I thought of a couple. I thought of Emily Bronte, who really probably is my favorite writer. I feel like there's so many times when I read stuff that she's written in her poetry or just portions of Wuthering Heights where I'm like, wow, I could see myself thinking that or saying that or doing that. Like I just feel kind of connected to her and her characters. But I feel like if we were to spend the day together, I would be super intimidated and we both would be super awkward. So I don't know if that would actually be a really great, you know, day. It would probably be just like a weird day, but I wouldn't pass it up for sure. Another author that I think I would enjoy spending the day with is Roald Dahl. Now, Roald Dahl's controversial, right? He's got some biases that I am just not at all okay with. But the good side of Roald Dahl, he reminds me of my dad. His humor reminds me of my dad. He just says like weird off the wall things, and some of it kind of crude humor. That was my dad, 100%. And so, you know, he's silly with kind of a dark and controversial wit. I'm not saying that everything that comes out of his, you know, pen was okay. I do think to some degree he was writing for a time, and then I think to some degree he was writing for who he actually was. So, you know, I don't know if we'd last a whole day together. There might be some arguing, or he probably just wouldn't put up with me really and just be like, well, this is who I am, so sorry about your luck, lady. But I do think that it would be fun. The thing that I like about him, besides his humor, is the fact that he really respected children. He saw children as capable, smart, brave, you know, the heroes. And I really liked that about him, that he held children to a high regard. And you can tell that in his writing and even just some of the interviews that I watched of him. I really can see that coming out. So, all right, that is the top of your head book tag. Now, I'm not exactly sure who to tag because I think this is kind of an older tag. And so I'm not sure who has already done it. So I'm going to go on to BookTube and I'm going to look for some people that are newer or that I do watch who have not yet done this tag, and I will just list everybody down in the description box so you will get a notification in your mentions if I tagged you. But if you want to do it, do it. I love tags. If you have a tag and you want to know who could you tag me because I adore doing tags. It's really fun. It's just fun to talk about myself, I guess. I don't know. It's fun to think of these things and just, you know, wonder about myself and learn more about me. And this one was fun for bringing up old memories and stuff. So I hope you guys are having a great day. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.